Okay, so I just started recording it, Janet, so that you don't have to worry about taking crazy notes.
No. All right. We're going to use this interview for a number of purposes. One of them is the Emerge newsletter that goes out to all of the supporters of Public Art Reston and public officials every month, which tells them what we're up to. And the June issue is going to focus on the STEAM team. It's going to be all about you and your projects, which you've been doing, especially this year's project. So each month we have been interviewing our founding partners, which include the Reston Association and the Reston Community Center and TEFRA, ICA, et cetera, a lot of community groups. But because your project is going to be launched this year, we wanted to let the public know specifically about what you're doing and about your project. So I'm going to ask you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions.
Wait,
and
what about
and it's going to be a conversation. And then when we put it in Emerge, we will edit it.
I think he felt like you guys were a good representative.
No, he said that we were all going to be interviewed.
Oh, well, how about we start with some questions?
We'll start and people can come and go.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I've seen
We're
all
gonna
of
do
you
fine.
since this.
We have answers to everything.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can.
If
And
there are questions that you guys feel like maybe some of the other team members could answer, say, oh, we'll grab, so and so. But we were only thinking, 2, 3, 4 of you guys for today.
otherwise it gets too confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
if
we'll put all the names of the team members in.
Okay.
right. Although we would like to know your names if you want to.
Okay, so before you leave, give Phoebe your name and your age and your class, junior, senior, sophomore, whatever it is. And we know Marco real well. So let's make this a conversation. I will give you the question, and then Phoebe and I are going to take your answers and probably edit them down a bit. I don't know if you read Q&As in the Washington Post, but often there's a little note on the bottom that says, this has been edited for length. But what I'm thinking we might do is, if someone is really interested in your conversation and your responses, that we might provide the link to the entire conversation, which is being recorded now. So, and there is no, you don't have to think too hard about it. We would like your true responses, but there is no wrong answers to any of these questions. There's just thoughts, and it's not like a test. It's just your opinions.
Thank God.
All right. One of the first is, and I hope you've discussed this with Mr. Rando, what is the specific mission of your team? What are the overall goals and overall mission? And exactly how does that mission contribute to the Reston community? So anyone jump in. So what do you think the mission of being a STEAM team member is? I mean, why are you doing this?
Well, with creating public art, it's for the community to really, I guess, embrace. And
well, why is your specific public art an installation at Lake Thoreau over a utilitarian? Why is that important to do? What is your goal in creating? It's more than just the creation. The process is important, but why is what you create important?
I mean, all this work is coming from like a diverse group of students here at South Lakes, and we're really fortunate to be able to come together and create such art that everyone can consume, because it's really rare for at least students like us to be able to share art that comes directly from, you know, our hands and minds, like everything that will be on
On the lake.
on exhibit
On
on the
exhibit.
lake in the coming few weeks, hopefully. Um, it directly comes from, I mean, the hard work of all the students here, we at South Lakes. And I mean, when you look at the art, we want it to be like, yes, it is going to be beautiful and everything and such, but I think,
Express it.
yeah, I feel like the art really shows like how a few students can come together and create something that, you know, everyone can.
All right, that's the art part, that's the creation part, and the teamwork part, and working together to create something beautiful and public. But what is the, form and function? What is the function of it? It has a very practical function. What is it doing besides being in the middle of Lake Thoreau? Why is it covering that? How did it, what is it doing just in a practical way? Even if you're creating something beautiful, but when you consider the design, do you have certain parameters that you have to, because you're covering something? So what is the function of it besides being a work of art?
I mean, STEAM team, what we do is, our goal is just to create, I guess, a piece of public art that everyone can enjoy. I don't think there is that
Well,
art serves any other function than being
On
something,
display.
than being on display for people to, I mean,
Marco, do you want to contribute also? It has a very specific function besides being a beautiful piece of art. When it gets started by the community
Yes, how about
association?
the educational function, learning together, forming a team?
Well, they did talk about that, but I'm just thinking about what is it covering? Just very simple. I think you're overthinking.
Oh, the spillway.
Spillway.
Yes, the spillway. So you have a location, right? A concrete location.
And is that,
Otherwise, some might view as not so pretty. And you guys took that into consideration?
I mean, yes, people are walking past this lake, you know, and I mean, it's just a lake, but when we put our art out on there, it's something that the community can really take in and, I mean, just enjoy, because it is, the product is something from the community for the community. And I mean, like anyone who walks past it will, I don't know, it'll have a certain place in people's heart knowing that it comes from us, I guess. But part of practicality, I mean, the lake is beautiful itself, but bringing in this other element, I mean, there's more to stop and look at, and people on their walks, they're just walking, and why not have something to think about maybe with our piece Cerebral. It's about the left and right brain, the contrast between these two pieces. It talks about how two very separate, I guess, elements of our mind, when they transverse, I don't know, can create such beauty. And I don't, like, that's the thing with art, right? You walk past it and you hope that it like catches your eye, and
Yeah, it covers a barren box that people otherwise wouldn't have second looked at it.
yes. And I think that's a major accomplishment of what the STEAM team has created within the Reston community. The second part of the question, exactly how does it contribute to the Reston community? The whole idea of this project got started because you had a community that hated the look of that, what is it called again? I'm having a senior moment.
Spillway?
The
Spillway?
spillway, yes. This is, for some reason, that word won't stick in my brain. The spillway is unattractive. And they reached out to Marco and the first Mr. Rando. Should I call you Mr. Rando during this?
Yeah, whatever, Marco, Mr. Rando, whatever.
All right. They reached out to Public Art Reston and to Mr. Rando about how could we do something to cover this ugly spillway in our lake. But what has evolved over the past years by doing it is now people don't even think about the spillway. Their expectation is to get a beautiful, exciting, stimulating piece of public art that's become a community expectation. So I think that's a tribute to your teamwork and what you create and the expectations. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Say, yes, that's true, or no, you're off on another tangent. But I think that you've created a wonderful expectation in the community that every year they're going to get something new and exciting and creative. And they probably don't even think about the spillway anymore. It's just the location where this public art's going to be.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to, right?
Yes, I think they do. I think there's anticipation. And you're allowed to say to me when we're having this conversation, I don't agree with you on that point. So you're allowed to say that because I want to hear your ideas, not my ideas. But sometimes I have to admit, I'll lead you in a certain direction.
Okay.
But you're allowed to say, no, you're going off in the wrong direction. All
Yeah.
right, let's go back to that very beginning. One of my next questions is, when and how was the STEAM team's partnership with Public Art formed? So that was how many years ago? Which project is this? Do we have a number?
This is the 8th project. The
Okay.
8th sculpture, it was formed in 2012. But the first year project took 2 years.
Oh, okay. And why Public Art Reston? I think Public Art Reston was just a couple of years old then, because Public Art Reston is about 15 years old now. So did you reach out to, did the community association, do we remember, reach out to Public Art Reston and then to you, or did it happen?
It was the community, community member, James Pan, who was, we credit him with being the visionary. Now, you know, my family and I thought about putting public art on these locations years before, but we kind of knew that this was never going to happen with the DRB. And James Pan got shot down as well. When they first presented it, he went and he got shot down. The key phrase that I remember, we don't want to bring attention to an otherwise ugly location, was the response of the DRB. And, you know, that was, it lay asleep, the concept. So the concept was first brought, I think, before DRB, like 2010, because by the time it reached my desk, it had been 2 years asleep. And they thought, well, let's see if the students can do something with it. And that's when I said, yeah, let's give this a whirl. Let's give it a try. And, you know, the rest is history.
Yeah, and now it's become an expectation.
Oh yeah, it's a huge expectation. In fact, one of our students lives on Lake Audubon, and the citizens over there found out she was on STEAM team, and she said, they were saying, well, why don't you just take one of the old sculptures and put it on our spillway? Well, it doesn't quite work that way because the spillways are very different in appearance. So there needs to be some education, and what part the students understand is, hey, we took this, it had a specific dimension, has a specific height, and this all came into consideration. So it's site-specific work. And, you know, the students are learning this, but the public needs to, you know, the public needs to educate. We need to educate the public on what site-specific means, so that they just don't go, hey, you know, can we take one of your old artworks? No. that's a clover shaped spillway, it's not gonna look right on there. So, or
You're sort of getting into my next question by using, we have to educate the public. Next question is, what has your partnership with Public Art Reston meant to your group? And you talked about it, how we were supportive, but educating the public with site-specific work, because Public Art Reston, our mission is to bring outstanding public art to the community, because public art strengthens our visual identity throughout the county, throughout the state. Reston has become known as a very art-centric community in a very good way. And your project, your installation is a part of that. So how has this partnership, what has this partnership meant to the STEAM team and to its annual work? How have we supported you?
it's the mission of Public Art Reston. And I think that's just having this organization that is established to create more public art, which is a continuing vision of what Reston was originally. I mean, that's huge. I don't think we would be in existence if it wasn't for Public Art Reston. I think it was that, yeah, Public Art Reston. I mean, I first sat on the board and, I didn't think, like, I was teaching then, I didn't think it was some other individual that said, hey, brought it in. But so I got to say the partnership is essential. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but
Well,
yeah.
what we're doing right now, this partnership right now, this interview at this very moment, we are going to put it on our newsletter, Emerge, and send it out to hundreds of people, hopefully thousands of people.
I have a follow-up question for the students then, Janet.
Okay.
Does Public Art Reston's role, and knowing that you will have an opportunity to interact with RA and present to the DRB, does that have any influence on your participation in the program? And you could say yes or no, or speak to that. Like, did it matter to you?
Definitely, yeah. It's an experience that we otherwise don't really get as students, and I think it's just important for our future to learn how to do these things, these interviews and collaborations.
Yeah, going to get approval is like professional work. So it's like an early experience before you go out into the real world, which really helps.
Yeah, I have never really seen such initiation from like other organizations and school faculty really trying to get us into like, I guess, a professional manner. And we're really getting like educated and being taught like in the future how we can like use these skills that we've learned in STEAM team, and hopefully these skills will help us in whatever career paths, art related or not, in the future. And STEAM team really helps me develop, and I'm sure all the other students here, skills and such that make us, better people, I guess. Yeah.
And do you find, this might be for Marco, because you watched the whole process from the very beginning, but do you find that the professionalism and the seriousness of the students on the STEAM team have also educated the DRB members? I remember that very first presentation was very different than the last few presentations, because we're using the word expectations a lot, but their expectations have changed. And since that very, you've gone from, oh, this is impossible, to, okay, let's try it, to a whole different expectation.
Yeah, I think
to that.
the DRB looks forward because of the track record, the history of this program. They look forward to seeing what the students, for them, it's a departure from the mundane homeownership issues that they are so accustomed to dealing with. So they look forward to, and this has grown and through the board members changing. But I think it has such a reputation now that like I said, they look forward to seeing and hearing from the students. They're always quite impressed on the presentations the students put together. So we look forward to it too. The one thing I think I miss is having the students go in person, because that table at RA is, is what you would see in the movies in this, corporate world where you have this U-shaped and you have 15 people, executives, if you will, from all professions sitting there waiting to listen to the students. And so that experience of itself, and then having the gallery, the people behind listening to what the students, so the students are, that kind of environment can be most intimidating, but and I think that's a wonderful experience for students to go through. So that's the only thing I think I miss of the DRB presentations. It's just having them do that in person. So maybe in the near future,
Yeah.
yes, so they get the full effect of, oh, wow, okay, I'm going to present a concept right here. I have to be articulate with what I'm saying and get to the point and describe details. And the students get to discuss it before they make the presentation. So it's kind of an anticipation of what the board's going to ask them. What do you think the board's going to ask you? How are they going to question us?
Yeah, and I think the board does not give the STEAM team preferential treatment.
Yeah.
We're going to continue with the students for a minute because there's work in progress. So Janet, go ahead and ask your next.
Oh, but like,
you have more to
yeah,
say.
I have
Sorry.
one thing to say.
Yeah.
On top of all the, I know we're talking about the seriousness of it all, but on top of like the professional skills we're learning and the collaboration and organizing, I mean, we really do just have fun. It never really feels like work, like we're all in here trying to come together, collaborate, and we all have this, one goal that we're trying to reach, right? But
Try to finish it.
trying to fit it, like there is all this pressure, right? Trying to get it out there on time and making sure like it doesn't fall down once it's on the lake and other stuff like that. But it is a club, and people are just coming here on their own time, and it's an incredible space, just full of creativity and communication. And we're honestly so lucky to have such a space like
Well,
this.
you've anticipated my next question, which was, what gratifies you about the experience of annually creating works of public art? You just told me that the experience is fun, and being creative with team members and making something beautiful. Are there other, and you also mentioned that it gratifies you to have to go before the DRB because you're getting real world experience.
Yes.
What other things give you pleasure or gratify you about being part of the STEAM team, creating a work of art?
The chaos.
When do you get a real sense?
The chaos.
The chaos is,
The chaos is fun too.
yeah. You can have people like fluttering in and out of the club and doing their own work, and just it all comes together, even if we have separate things that we're working on. And I think that's beauty in itself.
Yeah, in the end, we have like this amazing product year after year. We've shown up, right? But behind the scenes, it's not, I guess, as organized as you think it is.
It's chaos. It's like really
It's
chaotic.
like you wouldn't expect it. Like you see this beautiful work of art, right? And then you come into the room and seeing where all the work happens, and you're I don't know, maybe it's surprising, maybe it's not, because we're all, I guess, young and artists in a sense, but it's it's like a work play environment. You wouldn't really like expect all of us to come together in the end and really pull through and create what we have been showing time and time again over the years.
Sound like Robert Simon. Do you know who Robert Simon was? He was the founder of Reston.
No.
He
Oh,
was
yeah.
the- Yeah, he was the man who bought the land and then planned the whole community all those years ago. In fact, he sold Carnegie Hall to buy what now is Reston. And the idea of having your community was his idea. And he had a slogan, and you sound like that people should be able to live, work, and play in Reston. So you're all doing that with your STEAM team. You're living, working, and playing in Reston with the STEAM team project. You're very much part of the Simon ethos. So how do you think you're going to feel when this year's installation goes up on Lake Thoreau? Because you will really know what went behind the chaos and the joy and the collaboration and all what worked and what didn't work. And then you see your piece there on the lake.
I mean, since the beginning, this whole process, the one thing we're looking forward to is seeing this work up on the lake. That's the point, I would say. Not the point of STEAM team, but kind of the point of STEAM team, like getting this work out on the lake. And I think I can speak for everyone that, I mean, it will show. I mean, we've spent so many hours in this club. I know I can say I've done 40 plus hours here in this club, but you could see all that hard work kind of pay off in a sense. And I'm sure all those who do walk and like around the lake and see the art, even just driving by, everything, all our work that we've done so far, I mean, it will really mean something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel like relief and excitement and a bit of sadness that it's
Same.
mostly over. And I get to like remember what goes on behind the scenes, because before I even knew STEAM existed, I'd drive by the lake and I'd see the sculpture and it's just magically there. I didn't really think of the work that went into it, but now I'm actually doing the work in it, and it's gratifying.
Yeah, this is my first year in STEAM. I don't know about you
Same,
guys.
it's our first year.
It's all of our first years in
Oh,
STEAM.
wow. That's
So we have a very different perspective when it comes to, because just like, right out of the pandemic, we know that this isn't usually how STEAM would be going on, as he was talking about with the DBR panels and such, we didn't get to experience some of those things, but I don't feel like, I don't know that anything was lost in a sense. Like, I don't know. It's pretty, yeah.
if there were changes or other priorities, just for the STEAM team together, are there other priorities you'd like to see the team do besides the installation or about the installation? Are there different things
More
you
team.
put at the top? Any other priorities? Because your
Like,
first year, are you going to join the STEAM team next year?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I'm sure
So,
all of us.
when you're all finished with this project, this year's art installation, I don't want to call it a project. It's more than a project. It's an it's a sculptural art installation. Site-specific sculptural art installation. So we're not going to call it a project. But you're sitting around after you've accomplished everything that's been set up out on Lake Thoreau, and you're having a team meeting. where you're making suggestions for next year's team. Do you have, you haven't had a chance to think about it, but just off the top of your head, do you have any suggestions for next year's meeting, STEAM team meeting?
Like more like team building, because this year, like they're like a group of kids that always come in, and then there's some that come in once in a really long time. So I never got to know them. And I don't even know their names today. Like maybe we'll ask sometime later. But like the same kids that always come in, like we just got to know each other really well. So like more team building would be like.
Yes, we know that STEAM team has become like a really integral part of our community. Like the Lake Thoreau. Yeah, Lake Thoreau. Like there's an expectation now, right? And seeing STEAM team, not seeing a site specific art installation there next year. I mean, since we've become such a big part, I guess, of the community and such an expectation, I want to see, such, like, I don't know, in our school at least, I feel that STEAM team could be much bigger. I wouldn't say we're small. I mean, we have
a lot of people, like,
but we want, as much as STEAM team is a part of Lake Thoreau and its community, just Reston in general, we also want STEAM team to become a bigger part in South Lakes in general. It will. We just want more students and such, because when people ask me, what clubs are you doing, or like, what's going on, and I tell them about, oh, have you heard of STEAM team? Most of them don't really know, but then they end up enjoying the art on the lake. They don't really know who's behind it, and I want to make sure that South Lakes and all of Reston kind of knows that it's these students and everyone else who collaborated that's really behind the art, because so many people enjoy it but don't really know where it comes from. So especially in South Lakes itself, we want to make STEAM team I guess a little bit more prominent.
Yeah,
in a
So
sense.
Public Art Reston could help with the general public in educating the public about the STEAM team. That's why we're doing this interview. But maybe there's something in-house you can do. Did your school have a newspaper?
Our
yeah.
Mr. Rando, next year he said he's going to tie STEAM team into like the school day art classes, which will get more kids in the art classes to like help with the work. And like, so after school he would be like extra help from like other kids who just volunteer. So in class would be like the main work would be done there. So like there'd be a lot more help.
Because yes, like getting this installation out on the lake, it consumes so many hours. It's so much work, so much energy, and coming after school, once a week doesn't, always cut it. So we're trying to make the STEAM team a bit like more of a part of our, school lives and everyday lives, kind of. Yeah.
But does your school have a newspaper?
Yeah.
Does it have a radio station or just a newspaper?
Just the newspaper. We had a podcast during the pandemic, but
Hey, Janet, we're gonna switch groups. Let these guys
Okay.
to work, and
Thank you.
will each of you
Thank
just say
you.
quickly your name and
yeah.
your grade?
oh yeah. My name is Guzzle Tanavade, and we're all sophomores.
My name's Aiden Tong.
My
and I'm
name
a
is
sophomore too.
Spell your name. so we
Anna
can-
Askia.
I'll get all the names, Janet. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
talking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
New group.
Can you see everyone?
So this is Janet Rems. She's our communications committee chair and our board member, former journalist. You guys want to introduce yourselves first so that we don't forget to do that?
I'm Josh Garnett. I'm a junior.
I'm Sophia Pahomkina. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Will Daly. I'm a sophomore.
And is this your first year with STEAM Team, or tell me how long you've been working with STEAM Team, each of you?
For me, this is my second year, or I joined the second semester of this year, so this is my first year.
So I've been in the club since freshman year, so this is my second year in STEAM Team.
I've also been in the club since freshman year, so this is my third year.
Okay, we've done some of these questions with the other three who were here, but I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to go over some of these questions. Now, you've had a couple of years now participating with STEAM Team. What has been the most satisfying aspect, or what gratifies you about the experience of creating this sculptural installation every year for the community of Reston?
Honestly, seeing something you've made on the lake for everyone to see, knowing that's your work up there, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that really collaborating with everyone, and it's making such like a big product where everyone kind of does their own part, and then it comes really together really nicely. And then being able to see that final product fabricated and out there for everyone to see, like Josh said, is just really amazing.
Yeah, this is my first year, but like so far my experience, it's been really fun being able to combine like elements of design and art, and also like hands-on work has been really, really fun to do.
Now, besides Public Art Reston, which has been a collaborator with the STEAM Team from the very beginning, and we've talked about that with the other group, what other community group or individuals do you regard as essential to the annual installation of your public artwork at Lake Thoreau, your sculptural installation? What other groups in the community have you worked hand in hand with that you couldn't do without them? You have your team members and your collaboration and all of that, but who else has contributes to what you do? Is essential.
Yeah, definitely the entire South Lakes Art Department. With Mr. Rando, a lot of the students in his classes who aren't in the club officially. For example, I know Will has art first period, and like his entire class is also working on the sculpture. So just giving a shout out to everyone in all the South Lakes art classes who helps work on the sculpture. I would say that's a really big group that really helps us come together.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just the same thing.
Well, how does it get constructed on the lake? Who do you work with?
I know a couple of people from Reston Association come out, and Mr. Rando does a large part of it. And sometimes the students don't help as much with the construction, but we're all still there on construction day. And I know we boat out onto the lake, and the rest of the association people are there, and they're setting it all up with Mr. Rando. And so we assemble it at school, and then we actually have to disassemble it, and then drive it all over to Lake Thoreau, and then assemble it again on top of Lake Thoreau. So it's a large
Now,
problem.
do you find that the crew from the Reston Association, those of you who've done it for 2 years or 2 or 3 years now, do you find that they are as invested in this project as you are? Do you find that they're enthusiastic, helping you set this up? They take ownership of it as much as you do? What do you think?
I'd say they're fairly enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, I would say definitely probably the students play the largest part, but I know that Reston Association members are always very happy to help us get it up there.
Could you put it up yourself without their help?
Um,
I see your head shaking.
I just know a lot of them are more trained professionals, and I wouldn't say it's dangerous putting it up there, but I would say it's a little more hazardous than normal. So it is probably best that adults do it for now. I'm sure if we had some sort of special training, it might be possible, but for now, honestly, just kind of because of liability, it probably wouldn't be the best idea.
Yeah. So what do you think? I was asking the other group about what future priorities they'd like to see the STEAM team set. That once you're all complete with your sculptural installation and you're sitting around and you're being asked for suggestions for next year's STEAM team, would one of your priorities be learning perhaps to do the whole project on your own or working hand in hand, setting it up with the crew? Is that something you think should be a future priority, learning the whole engineering and the structural concern? But I know you do consider the structure, don't you, when you're planning your projects, what materials and how they work together and how they will fit in with the lake. And so talk about that aspect of your planning besides the design, because one of my questions also will be, describe this year's public art installation at Lake Thoreau and talk to me about all aspects of it, the aesthetic aspect, but also the engineering and the materials aspect.
Mhm.
And would you like to be able to work maybe in collaboration with the RA guys? Or is that something that could be set so you learn to actually be hands-on constructing it in the lake? Anyone?
Hmm.
I'll give you a chance to think about it.
Well, we do assemble it in the parking lot outside, then it's deassembled and reassembled on the lake.
Yeah, so we definitely do a big part of the construction of it. I think just the reason we have the RA employees come out and do it is the actual boating out onto the lake and standing on that platform, which is why we have adults do it. But we can construct everything ourselves as for the engineering aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about exactly, describe what is the title of this year's installation? What is the concept behind it? What will it look like? What materials? What consideration? I mean, these are a lot of things I'm throwing at you, but just, you know, here I am. Explain it to me as an aesthetic work of art and just the materials that went into it and its
Okay.
durability. And will it last month after month? How did you consider that?
Yes. So the sculpture is called Cerebral, and it plays a large part with the human brain. So we have two heads, and then one side is like the left brain, which is the more creative side. And on that side, using paneling, we're going to use more colors, more bright designs that really pop out and show that the left brain is kind of more creative and artistic. And then on the right side, that's the more logical and mathematical part of the brain it's considered to be. So that part is going to be more geometric and black and white. And we're going to use paneling to create the artwork.
Aluminum
Some,
aluminum compound or something.
yeah.
Paneling.
Mhm.
Dive-on paneling.
Yeah, dive on
Dive
panel, dive on paneling. And then in the middle, so these two heads are going to be like a good distance apart. And in the middle, we're going to have a sort of bridge connecting these two heads or parts of the brain, showing that the right brain and the left brain need to work together and come together. And they are truly just one part in order to kind of show how humans function. And they need both brains to live up to their optimal potential.
And were there any snafus? Any problems putting this together? What were the major snafus in this project? You know, something you planned and then you had to go back to the drawing board and say, let's redesign this.
Yeah, we did consider putting LEDs in our, like in between the two heads
On the bridge.
on the bridge. But we, I think we're deciding against it because like powering them would be an issue.
Mhm.
So we're gonna try and go with, I think we talked about maybe suspending like a mobile or possibly like a wind element
Or using the rope.
that would, yeah, using rope that would create like movement in between the two heads.
Mhm.
So when you're putting it to, what stage are you in now? What's happening with your other STEAM team members? They're assembling it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, talk about it.
And is it going according to plan or are you having to readjust?
I'd say it's smooth sailing.
for the most part. I mean, every project will have its technical issues, but so far, knock on wood, I'd like to say we're doing really well. Yeah, knock on wood. The fabrication is coming together pretty quickly. We have a lot of people working on this thing right now. Like I was just outside painting part of the base, and
So was I.
yeah, Josh and I were outside painting. Will was using the jigsaw to cut out the dye bond paneling. There are people sanding the dye bond paneling. Then I know Andrew and Aiden were like screwing parts of the head together. So there's a lot of different components.
So went from the very first weeks of designing this project or this installation, I keep saying I don't want to call it a project. It's more than that. It's a sculptural installation. Has the design evolved over the weeks you've been working on? Did it go from the very first weeks and you said, beside the LED lights, how did it evolve over the weeks till you've got what's being assembled now?
It definitely has evolved quite a bit. I'd say so we started out with
Guzzle.
guzzles too. We had
Guzzle made a
Just-
model.
yeah, so everyone made models at the beginning, and they were like this big. And so first we voted on someone's idea. So everyone made an idea and we voted on them. So we voted on Guzzles, which was like this head that had two planes intersecting each other. But then we realized that it would be very difficult to construct for structural reasons.
For like wind, like reasons like the wind could just knock it over elements on the lake.
Yeah. And having like paneling that's rigid enough for it not to be floppy.
Yeah, so then once we had Guzzle's idea down and we knew we wanted to do something concerning a human head, we just kept making versions off of that to the point where we evolved to two heads and then a bridge in between two heads, and Will actually made the final model of the sculpture. So the idea that we're using now was all Will's.
Yeah.
Well, and Guzzle's
Not
with the original idea.
Yeah. Inspired.
Well, the name of your group is the STEAM team. I know you all know what that is, but for our reporting, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Did you use all those elements in this project?
Yes.
Oh,
Can you explain for how each of those elements was used?
Well, the art aspect comes in with the coloring, the left and right brain motif.
Yeah, and then as for science, a lot of it is just physics, like how we're gonna like the weight of the sculpture and like how strong we need to make the base. Engineering, obviously, just like putting the whole thing together is all engineering. And then math.
Math is like calculating the length of each beam that makes up each of the heads.
Yeah, like we had to use the Pythagorean
Yeah,
theorem to figure out a lot of the triangles that make up this head, and we were like,
Yeah.
we really are using this in real life. There you go.
Yeah.
And something, and a letter that's not in there would be a big C, communicating this to a group like the DRB, where you have to get approval. So you might add a C to this somehow to your STEAM team.
Steam
beam.
beam.
Now, this is like the 8th project that this team has done.
Oh,
And I'm going to assume that this is your favorite one. Do you recall any of the others? Do you have another favorite one that has, and do you ever, before you start your own project, is there ever a review of all the other projects that other STEAM teams have done, other iterations of the STEAM team? Or
I can talk. So I mean, I've only been in the club for 2 years. So the past project, I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was great. It was called Part and Parcel. And as for other projects, I mean, I think they've been amazing as well. But I think as of now, this is like my favorite project that we've done just because it is so interesting. Like the concept of the two heads and the two brains, I think there's just so much you can do with that. But before we did start designing, we definitely reviewed past concept to see what works, what doesn't. For example, like from past concepts, we kind of knew what like the maximum height should be, like we shouldn't go over a certain height, or like for solar powering purposes, what works. So we definitely look at older projects and review what works and what doesn't.
Now, Public Art Reston, our mission is to bring outstanding public art to the community. And that strengthens Reston's visual identity. And your project, your annual sculptural installation, site-specific sculptural installation, is part of our mission. You are contributing a special public artwork each year to the Reston community. But other than the STEAM team, tell me how long, have you all lived in Reston your whole life, or tell me how long you've lived in Reston?
Janet, this has to be our last question, I think.
And this is the last question.
Okay, yeah.
I've lived in Reston my whole life.
All right, have all of you lived
Yeah,
here,
okay,
basically?
totally.
All right. Is there any other public artwork that sticks in your brain that as you wandered around your community that is a favorite of yours or pops into your mind?
That like hut made of sticks that was in
Yeah.
I
Reston
was
Town
gonna say
Center.
that.
I was
too.
thinking that too.
Which
Yeah.
one?
Patrick Doherty.
Oh, yes, is that a favorite of all of yours?
Yes.
We
Yeah.
often get that. A lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Good, all right. Thank you very much. Do you have any final things, an answer for a question I didn't ask before we have to conclude?
No, thank you for taking the time to interview us.
Oh, thank you for participating, and I'm excited to see your new work of art, your new sculpture, site-specific sculptural installation. Thank you very, very much.
Yes,
you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Guys, get back to work. Thanks for doing this. Thanks, Jay. You great. There's no wrong answers.
My tongue was getting tired saying
Yeah.
site-specific.
I know. I'm gonna stop recording.